his wife too. We said we got to move to Canada. We started the application process, and we were like, "Fuck, we'll never get to Canada. His terms will be over before we get there. The damage will be done." You know.
But I didn't think he could get elected, and he did. So,
well, no, he didn't.
Elected, yeah.
He didn't. He didn't get elected. We like your. I'm got the lower thirds going again. I'm trying to pay attention to those. Anyway, that was just. Thank you for that update on that. You want to say anything else about that?
No, that's it on that. But on the article and the debate outside the debate, I did go into the debate again at the end of the article, but for the most part, I thought until the end it was a snoozer, that debate.
Really?
And
I was disappointed. Now, which one is this one? You're not. This is the okay. This is Wisconsin.
Yeah.
What do they do? Just I kind of agree with you in that sense. Although I thought he said a few more harsh things, and I was surprised at that he was a little more, attacky, which was good. But what was this thing in Colorado? Were they both there for that, or was that just a Sanders rally? 18,000 people? That was just a Sanders thing.
That was just Sanders. But I think there might have been a dinner too or something after the rally. Yeah,
I think so too. I think there was some kind of dinner afterwards because I kept seeing stuff about them saying shit at this other place, and I'm so.
Oh, I didn't see the dinner or anything. But the real story that day was the Congressional Black Caucus non-endorsement. It wasn't really the Congressional Black Caucus.
Right.
It was interesting that the vote, actually, there was only 9 members of the Congressional Black Caucus that were even in on the vote for the endorsement.
Out of what?
20-member committee.
20-member committee. Only 9 were available for the vote.
No, well, not the only 9. Only 9 were on the board of that PAC. The other 11 are lobbyists.
Oh shit!
The board of that PAC.
Jesus.
They were all. I think they were all African American lobbyists, like Mel Watt and other former Albert Wynn and former congressmen who are now lobbyists and no longer in Congress. That's who voted to endorse him, not the Congressional Black Caucus. Immediately, Barbara Lee, who hasn't endorsed anybody, she said it's not the Congressional Black Caucus that endorsed, it's the PAC, and Ellison said he wasn't even consulted.
Oh, I know. Yeah, that one's been pretty. The beautiful thing about what's going on with the web right now, Scott, is that these things don't last very long. If they're bullshit, the web comes out with the truth. Everything gets disseminated, and the real issue is making sure that comes across on establishment media lines.
But I wasn't sure how many people knew that 11 of the 20 voting were actually lobbyists and not members of Congress.
In the same way, your interview with Wasserman Schultz the other day, where I'm not really sure how many pledge delegates Bernie has. It's not really important. I don't know. I don't know. It's not my job or anything to know any of this shit, Scott. Why are you asking me these questions as a reporter?
She definitely knew. She was getting a lot of questions about the super delegates. I heard her give the same explanation about super delegates to another network, and that's why I asked her the question. I said, that's not a bad explanation. I think it would be good to get her saying that.
Oh, interesting. So you hear all the same lines again. Everybody, out of all that stuff, I know we're totally digressing into other shit, and we need to stop. But the Tad Devine interview was just fabulous because he is so smooth with what he has to say. You know what I mean? And Ryan made that statement about it too, where he got his little question in there about foreign policy. But he's the one you like listening to, because he just eloquent, very eloquent.
He's been involved in a lot of winning candidates for the nomination. Dukakis.
Absolutely.
He hasn't been lucky enough to have somebody win the White House that he's worked for, but They've won the nomination. He's had a few win the nomination.
Nice, nice. All right. Well, thank you, Scott. Appreciate you being here, my friend. We were going to move off and bag on Exxon because we need to. That's what the cover card was for. And you're going to be in Vegas tonight and covering tomorrow?
Well, I'll get there tomorrow. I'm going to take a bus to Chicago tonight. It's cheaper to fly out of Chicago than.
Wow. All right. All right. And you'll be covering Bernie when? Or what are you covering? You'll be down there for
I don't know any. I haven't seen any events scheduled yet, but I can't imagine that he's not. In fact, the next thing I see is South Carolina, but he's got to come back to Nevada before.
If we look at you guys, just so you know where Bernie is, we're chasing Bernie. That's what we do. Looking at broadcast planning here, guys.
I think the last thing I saw was he was back in South Carolina.
Are you sure? I'm seeing Monday, February 15th, Eastern Michigan University.
Oh, yeah. That's today, yeah.
That's today. He's at Eastern Michigan University, and tonight there's something going on at a rally. But we've actually got a guest. Maybe you can help me with his name while you're here, Scott. We have this guest, Jesse Sabay, Nevada Caucus Special. This is a congressional candidate from Nevada. Are you familiar with his?
Oh, I'm not familiar.
So everybody, will be having a We the People special interview. Ryan Lavacek lined this up, and we're doing this just. I know it's out of order for We the People, and I made a big mess in production, in Slack, telling Ryan, "Yeah, let's do it," and not really checking with Janine, which is the wrong thing to do. But we're going to do this anyway today at 2 p.m. my time, 5 p.m. Eastern, which is about the same time this other thing's going on. Doors open at 5:30 p.m. Rally United Auto Workers. I'm hoping that we can do this We the People special, and maybe we can just go right into this other event if we find a stream or if we have a stream. Not sure just yet what's going on with that. But I know we've got that. And then, of course, Thursday, we have We the People with Alette Valentine, congressional candidate from, I think, 7th District candidate from Colorado. So Bernie is at Eastern Michigan University convocation this morning, and then this place in the afternoon. And then tomorrow, he's going to Georgia, according to this.
Oh, yeah, Georgia. And then I think South Carolina after Georgia.
Okay, Georgia and then South Carolina. I'm not seeing the South on here, but that's probably where he's at next day. Sometimes they actually release dates in the future and then backfill the other days. Like, we're going to end up here on the 20th. Here's how we're getting there. Basically, they'll do. So that's where Bernie's going to be. I'll let you know as soon as we know if we have any feeds on that.
Actually, the Georgia thing is part of his traditional Black College tour.
Oh yeah, nice. All right, so moving on from chasing Bernie back into the point of today. After I take a look at some of your comments, Bernie needs rest. He's seriously coughing. No shit. Nobody's saying a lot about that because we don't want to, and you don't want the press to run wild with stories of Bernie being ill, you know. But yeah, the guy, here's the thing. I imagine Hillary would be sounding about the same if she actually did as many speaking spots as Bernie were doing every day. But notice she doesn't do that. She doesn't quite have that schedule, right? She's not up at 4 a.m. doing a thing here, back of a pickup truck at 5 a.m. coming off the airport. He does 3-4 gigs a day, folks. It's absolutely insane. And she doesn't even come close. She goes to a fancy pants dinner, collects a shit ton of money. We're going to look at that. And then goes home. Bill goes and does some work. Chelsea goes and does some work. And then she goes and does another fancy pants dinner. Occasionally she'll show up at a little town hall and pretend that she gives a shit. You know, it's a very different thing. So Bernie, I expect him to be. Why is my room backwards? I don't know. My room is backwards. I have no idea, man. I have no idea. Did I reverse the? It could be reversed. That happens sometimes. I got no idea. Moving on from that, I was just looking at some of your comments, guys. I'll scroll back, read the stuff. Anyway, Exxon New. We were talking about Exxon today, this beautiful cover made by Steph. that I love showing off, right? Look what you did. The documents that originally came out last year were insane. This is absolutely insane what happened here, what we found out. There are, I know at least one federal prosecutor is filing charges against Exxon, but that's one guy in one city or in one state. The federal government, to my knowledge, hasn't done shit other than continue to give Exxon tax subsidies. And we'll look at that too. We'll look at just how much Exxon doesn't pay in taxes. Their average tax rate was 0.4%. 0.4%. That's what they actually paid when it all got washed down between what they got handed back, what they actually had to pay. 0.4%. So no matter what other number they tell you, they knew about climate change, and they've been skating on taxes for more than 40 years. And our government gives them your money in exchange to let them ruin our environment. But 40 years ago, these documents, this all came out recently, last year, so that Exxon knew, and we're uncovering more and more. We know that Ronald Reagan was well aware. Bush Sr. was well aware. The Clintons were well aware. Yeah, Hillary and Bill were well fucking aware. So when Hillary talks about climate change, I say, fuck you. You are a liar, because you actually helped expand Exxon's interest around the world in fracking. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that. We're not even there. We haven't even looked at what Exxon has done. But 40 years ago, they knew. They knew, folks. What did they know? Before I want to run this little video. It's like a 1-minute clip. And then we're going to look at this. Exxon, the road not taken. This is from Inside Climate News, and they did a beautiful expose, a whole bunch of articles, a lot of stuff. Got this video from Yale. And we're going to just kind of track what Exxon did, what our government did. All right. John doesn't like to rearrange his further. I don't do mirror image. I certainly don't. I don't know what you're talking about. It could be backwards just because of today. All right. We're going to run this little clip here, guys. You're going to love this. You're going to love this. I in my digging for content on this, my research on the internet, it was so fun to find these things. I've got some great media clips. This one is called Carbon Dioxide is Our Friend. This was a little piece put together in 2006 that Exxon had a piece in. All right. This is just part of one of their many campaigns to convince us that we're fucking idiots with regard to CO2 levels, and we should just shut the fuck up and enjoy a day in the park.
There's something in these pictures you can't see. It's essential to life. We breathe it out. Plants breathe it in. It comes from animal life, the oceans, the earth, and the fuels we find in it. It's called carbon dioxide, CO2. The fuels that produce CO2 have freed us from a world of back-breaking labor, lighting up our lives, allowing us to create and move the things we need, the people we love. Now some politicians want to label carbon dioxide a pollutant. Imagine if they succeed. What would our lives be like then? Carbon dioxide. They call it pollution. We call it life.
I don't even know what to say. They call it pollution. We call it life. Oh my fucking God. I mean, how fucking stupid did they think we were in 2006? Oh, I lost somebody. Oh, I lost Scott. I get angry and then I laugh. Got this pleasant music, the violins in the background, children blowing bubbles and dandelions. carbon dioxide, fossil fuels have helped free us from horrible labor. Now politicians want to call CO2 a pollutant. Oh my fucking God. We already know it's a pollutant, folks. We discovered it in 1977. We know it's a pollutant, but we paid for this fucking ad. Exxon. Holy fucking shit. They call CO2 life. Anybody who trusts anything that you see on a fucking television today, show them this video. Show them this video. It's in the description. Say, hey, Grandpa, watch this fucking video. We're going to watch a clip from TYT on why television is dead. It's beautiful. But that should get you started being pissed off at Exxon. Let's and we're going to watch. I want to run through some of these things here. And then we're going to watch this longer clip from Yale that actually just it describes everything. And then we'll get into some details, some quotes, and we're going to tie all of this to the Clinton family, to the Clinton Foundation, and to the people backing Hillary Clinton today. So anybody out there voting for Hillary who thinks she's all environment and going to take care of it, I want to show you how she's basically backed by Wall Street and the fossil fuel industry. Those are her two primary backers. And if you're still backing Hillary, that's who you're backing. The two groups pretty much responsible for destroying this fucking planet. Right? Yes, fuck Exxon. The fracking, we'll get into fracking. Hillary was the one who really promoted fracking around the world. Bulgaria hates her ass. Yeah, Hillary shoved fracking up the ass of Bulgaria, and the people were like, we never wanted this, and the government was like, thank you, Hillary, or however Bulgarians talk. Anyway, here's Exxon, the road not taken. So in 1977, folks, Exxon knew damn well what was going on. They had a super tanker. And they had spent tons of money putting scientific shit on this super tanker because they wanted to know what was going on. They were smart. They were businessmen. They were like, if climate change is going to affect shit, or if what we're doing affects shit, we need to know how it affects things. How do we get above this? How do we beat this so we can continue to make profit? It wasn't about the environment at all, folks. It was about maintaining profit. It was about being ahead of your competitors. That's always been the goal here for Exxon. It always steered their decisions, including their scientists. All right, let's scroll down here. So Exxon's own research, and we're just going to open this full page and look at this. Exxon's own research confirmed fossil fuels' role in global warming decades ago, and this is true. All right, all of the modeling, understand that all of the modeling they did is so accurate. It's really effing accurate today. Their modeling for what our temperature should be today is accurate within 0.2 of a percentage point. Okay. Exxon believed deep dive into climate research would protect its business. Move on here. Exxon confirmed global warming consensus in 1982 with in-house climate models. These are those great models. Okay. Exxon's business ambition collided with climate change under a distant sea. And this goes on and on, but I want to go to this spot right here. Look at these ads. Climate change, a degree of uncertainty. That was in 97. Less heat, more light on climate change, 96. When the facts don't square with the theory, throw out the facts, 97. Okay, basically these are articles advertising, just like that fucking commercial we saw about CO2 being your friend, that Exxon was paying for. Okay. And then, what does Exxon do? They make deep cuts in climate research budget. We're going to get into this, especially this one right here. Exxon's oil industry peers knew about climate dangers in the 70s too. There was an entire group of these guys that were studying it. Texaco, Chevron, Standard Oil, because they were Chevron at the time. They all looked into this. They were all smart business people, and they all didn't give a fuck about the environment. They all didn't give a fuck. In the end, they were like, who gives a fuck? Work with us, government. And the government did. The government did that. So let's run this. This is a 9.5-minute clip. I don't think it's going to kill the stream. It shouldn't. But it's a 9.5-minute clip that really tells the story much better than I can. We're going to look at some of the details because what I want to do is tie it to the Clinton administration. I want to show you where she's getting all her fucking money. And we're going to watch this first because this really details just how fucked we are thanks to Exxon and why I call for their arrest, their liquidation, and the use of funds as reparations to the world, past, present, and future, so that we can fix this planet and survive.
Clearly there's going to be an impact. So I'm not disputing that increasing CO2 emissions in the atmosphere is going to have an impact. It'll have a warming impact. How large it is what is very hard for anyone to predict. And depending on how large it is, then projects how dire the consequences are.
In the fall of 2015, an investigation by the Pulitzer Prize-winning Inside Climate News, as well as the Los Angeles Times and the Columbia School of Journalism, revealed a trove of documents from scientists inside oil giant ExxonMobil, showing that Exxon scientists understood the mechanisms and consequences of human-caused climate change as early as the late 1970s and early 1980s.
New York State Attorney General Eric Schneiderman recently subpoenaed oil giant ExxonMobil, apparently seeking documents that might show the company had downplayed the risks to profits and therefore to investors of stronger regulations on burning fossil fuels.
The documents show Exxon understood a clear scientific consensus existed on the greenhouse effect, that the buildup of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere could become a serious problem, and mentioned the distinct possibility of effects that could be catastrophic for a substantial fraction of the Earth's population. Exxon scientists stated their research was in accord with the scientific consensus on the effect of increased atmospheric CO2 on climate. Multiple documents mentioned potential adverse impacts, such as flooding of coastal land masses due to the melting of Antarctic ice sheets.
Our view of this very complex subject over the years, over the decades, has mirrored that of the broader scientific community.
In the early 1980s, the scientific community was just beginning to sound the alarm about increasing buildup of gases like carbon dioxide in the atmosphere.
Researchers say increasingly large amounts of CO2 are accumulating in the atmosphere. They fear the Earth will gradually become warmer, causing as yet uncertain but possibly disruptive changes in the Earth's climate 50 to 70 years from now.
The discussions that have taken place inside our company among our scientists mirror the discussions that have been taking place and the work that's been taking place by the broader scientific community. That's what the facts will show.
Scientists and a few politicians are beginning to worry that global energy planning does not take the greenhouse effect seriously enough.
Those same computer models correctly predict the past climate of the Earth. They correctly predict the present climate of the Earth. It is reasonable that they are correctly predicting the future climate of the Earth, given the amount of CO2 and other greenhouse gases that we're pouring into the atmosphere.
Internal briefing documents for Exxon executives showed a science effort that was on the very cutting edge for its time. Graphs showed projections of temperature rise derived from increasingly complex atmospheric models, much like temperatures that have now been observed in the real world. Using global climate models developed by NASA, Exxon scientists agreed with the mainstream projections of approximately 3 degrees global average temperature rise for a doubling of atmospheric carbon dioxide, with a rise of more than 10 degrees projected for polar regions, a phenomenon called polar amplification, which has now been actually observed. Exxon's state-of-the-art climate modeling predicted a pattern of planetary warming, projecting the lower atmosphere to warm while the upper atmosphere cooled, a telltale fingerprint of human-caused warming that has now also been observed in the real world. This table from 1982 predicts conditions looking well into the future, including the current year of 2015, where Exxon predicted atmospheric carbon levels for our time to within 9 parts per million, and a temperature rise to within a few tenths of a degree of the best current observations. But in the following years, something happened at Exxon. The company seemed to have forgotten the findings of its own experts.
Proponents of the global warming theory say that higher levels of greenhouse gases are causing world temperatures to rise and that burning fossil fuels is the reason. But scientific evidence remains inconclusive as to whether human activities affect the global climate.
You know, there was no doubt that fossil fuels were the main driver of higher CO2 emissions, and that CO2 emissions would lead to climate change, right? What Exxon was trying to figure out in the 70s and 80s was, when is it going to hit and how bad is it going to be? But they knew it was going to be bad. Like, they admitted it's going to be bad. They used the word catastrophic over and over again in documents. 15 years later, as the science became more certain, Exxon backed away from that, and Lee Raymond talked about that.
Many scientists agree there's ample time to better understand climate systems and consider policy options. So there's simply no reason to take drastic action now.
It's a pretty startling walk back from what, the scientists said 15 years earlier.
What he's concerned about and wants to know is whether Exxon was using one set of scientific models to do its work in the Arctic, for example, where Exxon has been engaged in drilling, and on the other hand, telling the public, telling its shareholders, a very different set of facts about the state of climate change.
When you're making public disclosures to investors and when you're making public disclosures to government officials, there are laws regulating whether or not that's something that you really need to stand by. So if there's evidence demonstrating purposeful concealment and it's too early to say, then it really could be a big cloud over the company's head.
Exxon has funded a number of organizations that he said have been openly climate change deniers. He mentioned the American Enterprise Institute.
Take, for example, this whole 97% of scientists agree on global warming. That is an utterly fraudulent number.
Has Exxon been funding these organizations?
Well, the answer is yes, and I'll let those organizations respond for themselves.
They're basically saying you and your industry are hiding the risks of climate change, just like the tobacco companies hid the risks of smoking.
And they're using tactics that are very similar to what the cigarette industry or the tobacco industry used for many years, even though the overwhelming scientific consensus was that smoking cigarettes was bad for you. They would find a few scientists that would disagree, and then they would say, look, scientists disagree. So that's essentially how they would try to trick the public into thinking that smoking is not that bad.
There are allegations that ExxonMobil also funded research from somebody, for example, at the Smithsonian Institution, without disclosing and without that person disclosing that he was going on a certain path, whereby there were other scientists within ExxonMobil that might have had beliefs to the contrary.
You have received over $1 million in funds from coal and oil interests. The last grant you received from a funder with no ties to the energy industry was in 2002. That's over a decade ago.
In recent weeks, ExxonMobil has accused Columbia School of Journalism of ethical misconduct in reporting this story. In response, Steve Cole, the dean of Columbia School of Journalism, has refuted those allegations in a detailed letter since published in the New York Times. Meanwhile, 2015 will soon go down in history as the hottest year globally in the modern record, with indications that 2016 will be even warmer.
We can't be 100% sure. But which is more prudent? Which is wiser? To do nothing and hope that a mistake has been made? Or to take these predictions seriously, even if there's a chance the precautions you will take will be unnecessary?
All right. Well, a couple things going on there. That's a pretty detailed explanation of basically Exxon lying. Pretty good account of what's going on there and how they continue to lie. In 2015, continue to lie. Before we move on into other pieces of that and look at some detail, we've got more than 115 people joining us today. Thank you for being here, family. I really appreciate it. And I want to address something that I saw in chat, and I'm going to click back here and look at this. Dolores, thank you for being here. And I hope everybody is respectful and kind to Dolores and vice versa, and anybody else who's with Catholics for Bernie. And anybody else who might be offended at my use of the F word in this show. And I want to address that right now because as much as I try to let it be, it seems to keep returning as a problem. And so I want to make some things clear. I'm a lot like Bill Maher. I have kind of the same opinions as the religion and weed and the F word. All right. I'm just younger, maybe a little better looking. No offense, Bill. But I'd love to smoke a joint with Bill. And I'd love to just say the word fuck a lot on this show. And I do. And let me tell you why. And before I do that, listen, Dolores, I'm not I don't mean to offend, but let me just say this. There are programs on this channel. We the People, any of the Bernie rallies. We're going to create other series. I would love to do a different series. I've offered this to do a series with anybody, any group. We're doing Disability TV series. There's probably not going to be a lot of F-bombs in that show. In other words, this is the only show really where the purpose, the defined purpose is to deliver the real news and deliver it raw. And unfortunately, until we hire a new anchor, I am the anchor because this is the show that I wanted to do. And I will have days where I drop a lot of F-bombs because I quite frankly, anybody who sees what Exxon has done and doesn't want to say fuck a lot of times and doesn't want to just go grab an Exxon executive and shake them until they die, I don't know. I guess the anger, the understanding of what's been done here, the fact that we are all doomed at this moment, that science, those facts haven't reached. It enrages me. I don't know what there is in terms of justice for these individuals. And that includes everybody that's participated in the lie. So every fossil fuel company, every government official that has known and not done anything, every media network that has known and not done anything. How do you bring these people to justice? I'm not running this story just because we all need to be informed. I'm running this story in the hopes that you are enraged. My wife asked me the other day when I was talking about the fact that Reagan knew that now these new documents due to the Freedom of Information Act have been released. We know that Reagan and Bush knew very clearly that this was going down. They even wrote shit. This seems like it's a problem. We should probably do something about it. Oh, and just a quick sideline. Dolores, now that I know that you've said something, I probably won't say a lot of F-bombs for the rest of this show, but it'll slip next show. And I apologize. I know I'm jumping back and forth, but that was still bothering me. I don't mean to offend. For me personally, and my experience with the Catholic religion, I find that word as offensive as the F word. So it's kind of a personal preference thing. I don't want to turn away fans, but F-bombs will be dropped on this show. It's just because that's the kind of show I want to be, and I got to be true to myself. So it's not meant in offense. It's just the reality of the situation. Now, back to Ronald Reagan and Bush actually knowing that all this shit was going down, actually writing stuff before Reagan lost his mind. He actually wrote stuff like, this is climate change. Looks like it could be a concern. Maybe we need to do something about it. Go to war. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Just so you know, this was one of the other articles that came out, folks. Exxon's oil industry peers knew about climate dangers in the 70s too. And this is important because we're going to talk about who those industry people were, okay? because this gets around to Hillary Clinton, folks. The whole point is this comes around to where Hillary gets her money. All right. But the list of companies in here, I'm looking for that. There was basically it's a list of all the companies. The second paragraph down, the group's members included senior scientists and engineers from nearly every major U.S. and multinational oil and gas company, including Exxon, Mobil, Amoco, Phillips, Texaco, Shell, Sunoco, S.H.I.L.D, don't even know about that one, as well as Standard Oil of California and Gulf Oil, the predecessors to Chevron. This is according to internal documents obtained by Inside Climate. Right. So when we talk about this, isn't just compartmentalized news. Exxon had this data. Everybody knew. Our government knew. All governments knew, probably. Right? This is known everywhere. This is known everywhere. Now, I just saw somebody say, I'm sick of wars. David, I'm sick of wars too. Who makes the most money there? The oil industry makes a shit ton of money off war. War, oil industry, they are partners in crime. Happy friends. Happy friends, those of you who are patriots and support war, support our troops, because that supports oil. Supporting the human beings that we send off to die for these oil wars, absolutely. Supporting the military-industrial complex, no more. Needs to be cut in half. Needs to be cut in half. Maybe we do a jar, and every time I drop an F-bomb, I have to put $1 into it and help fund my own effort. That would be interesting. I don't know. Thinking of solutions here. I agree with the idea of keeping it positive, but when my planet's dying and I'm enraged, it's hard to do that. I want to look at some more evidence about what Exxon knew before we head on into other people and things, folks. And I am looking at do a Reagan line, John. Like you know what? My brother does much better. My brother does much better impersonations of Reagan and many other people. I've been told that most of my impersonations sound like old Chinese people, and it's not to be offensive to anybody of any culture. That just it's apparently what most of my impersonations come out to be. So I apologize for that deeply. I'm sure I'll get into a Reagan quote again. Here, this is what Exxon knew about the Earth's melting Arctic. And this is important when we look at some of the quotes. But friends, back in 1990, as the debate over climate change was heating up, a dissident shareholder petitioned the board of Exxon, one of the world's largest oil companies, imploring it to develop a plan to reduce carbon dioxide emissions from its production plants and facilities. Now, here's the thing. Here's the quote right here. I don't know if you can read this. I don't think I can actually zoom in better on it. Let's just do this. This is the important little piece here. Certainly, any major development within a lifespan of, say, 30 to 40 years will need to assess the impacts of potential global warming. This is development of Arctic operations, folks. Crossdale told an engineering conference in 91. This is particularly true of Arctic and offshore projects in Canada, where warming will clearly affect sea ice, icebergs, permafrost, and sea levels. This is I guess the good news for Exxon, I got to read you the statement. He told an audience of academics and government researchers in 1992 was that potential global warming can only help lower exploration and development costs in the Beaufort Sea, however that's pronounced. Do you get that one here? I'll show that to you. Do you remember I said this is all about profit. This is all about profit, right? They always choose profit over the planet, profit over people, profit over their own kids. For scientists, they're pretty damn retarded. The good news for Exxon, he told an audience of academics and government researchers in 92, was that potential global warming could only help lower exploration and development costs. Holy fuck. Are you kidding me? Forget that global warming is global warming. Forget that we're melting the Arctic Sea. Forget that sea levels are going to rise. Forget that CO2 levels are rising. And forget that the Earth is warming. Forget everything we know about the damage it's going to do all the way back in 1980. This is 92, and we're still talking about profit. We're talking about, well, as the ice melts, it'll get easier to explore. Isn't that great? How many F-bombs is that worth? How many F-bombs is the melting of the Arctic Sea worth? How many F-bombs is the melting of the North Pole worth? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I can count that high. We're going to get into some interesting money. This is another article. This is Greenpeace. This is Greenpeace. Now remember, here, I'm going to pull this up. Remember, guys, I suppose I can stop yelling. Stop yelling. I really could. Part of a good on-air personality is to like change your loud, quiet. I tend to just be loud. I gotta really work on that. I gotta work on that. F-bombs for the Bern. No, I haven't smoked yet today. Sorry, cynical. Calm down, pretty please. Sorry. Here, guys. See, I just calmed down. I just breathed. The R word? Oh, you know what? We can talk about that. We can talk about. I have a different opinion about the R word as well. It's completely changed in definition. Exxon wants you to think it has stopped funding climate change denial. It hasn't. Okay, this is Exxon. This is remember 2006, folks, was when that ad for the CO2 was. That's 2006. Was the CO2 ad? CO2 is your friend. But we scroll down in this article here. Okay, where'd we go? Where'd we go? Right here. To the public's eye, Exxon's Public Information and Policy Research section of its worldwide giving report. So what's going on here is they're talking about Exxon saying its money goes into a climate change grant, but really it's funding anti-climate change work. Okay. In 2003, ExxonMobil earmarked more than $1 million worth of grants for climate change, and in 2004 listed over $1.6 million in climate-specific grants among the $3.4 million given to groups who were engaged on the climate science and policy debate. By engaged in the debate, we're meaning running full-on climate denial campaigns. These were ExxonMobil-funded army of climate deniers. For example, in 2003, the Frontiers of Freedom received 2 Mobil grants, $95,000 for global climate change outreach and $50,000 for global climate change activities. Do you read what's going on here? Oh, there's ALEC gets involved down here at the bottom. ALEC gets involved. That's nice. More money, more money, more money. Here's where I got that carbon dioxide is your friend, folks, right here. $90,000. So while ExxonMobil on the one hand is telling themselves, we know that this has happened. Okay. And let's look at some slides. I actually took some quotes. Here, this is good. Here's some of the information they talked about, but you can read some of these quotes. They're pretty powerful. This is a May 15th, 1981 memo. Exxon estimates a 3 degrees Celsius rise in global average temperatures in 100 years and appears ready to discuss publicly that a time could arrive when the world will have to shift to renewable energy. Exxon thought such a transition could happen in a gradual, orderly way. That's exactly what we've had, huh? A gradual, orderly shift. The bullet points that Shaw presented to David start with the idea that there is sufficient time to study the problem before corrective action is required. That's what we're looking at here. He's talking about here's the details. Atmospheric CO2 will double in 100 years if fossil fuels grow at this rate. 3% Celsius global average temperature rise. They know this stuff. Major shifts in rainfall, agriculture, pole ice may melt. They knew this shit was going to happen. Why is this important? Look what it has done to our environment. Look what it has done to the severity of storms. But by the end of the 1980s, Exxon would publicly pivot away. In 96, when climate research was more certain, where am I going here? This is where they showed this in 2015. Chairman Rex Tillerson, they started with that. Right. Now, that's another slide. That's talking about Solar City. I guess my point here, folks, is they knew, they spent money to cover it up, and Now we start getting into where the money goes. Where the money goes. Where does it come from? Actually, we could look at that too. We could look at that, but let's talk about this. Right now, I know that Janine and a lot of you guys out on the Northeast, we're dealing with bitterly cold temperatures, right? This is what's going on. Ridiculously cold temperatures. And now there's the records, right? Now, what does this do? Elderly people, homeless people. Think about the state of our country right now. The reason I'm showing you this is because the effects of global warming, the effects of climate change, don't get really discussed across the board of what they're doing when Hurricane Sandy comes in, Katrina comes in, or we have giant freezes, strange tornado seasons. The damage that's done to the populace that's already pretty damaged, the continued damage to our infrastructure, the continued damage to our homes, the cost, the expense. Exxon knew that this was going to happen. They documented, they said, this is going to happen. We're going to have more severe storms. It's going to cause fucked up shit. But it's okay. We're not going to think about that cost. Thinking about that cost now, we have got plenty of time to let this damage occur. That's what I don't understand. So there needs to be reparations here. There needs to be reparations to all, not just mankind, humankind, all of the planet. Reparations to species that have been completely wiped out. And that's why I wanted to go into this slide before we get more into Clinton money. This is the fact that we can have this in Time magazine is just glorious, folks. This is Time's top 10. Here, I'll zoom in better on that. This is Time's top 10 environmental disasters because in the United States of America, you can have these. Let's walk through them and see where we get. All right. Chernobyl, it's a big one. We're waiting for it to reload here. Got to reload the page. Okay. 2 is Bhopal, Union Carbide disaster. It's going really slow. This was cruising fast the other day. That doesn't seem to be. Well, Time, it's not going to work if you don't do this. I wanted to get to the there's the here's a good one. This is number 3 on their list. The Kuwaiti oil fires, folks. They didn't really talk about this that much the whole time we were blowing up this area of the earth. That Saddam Hussein set these on fire. Who knows what damage this did to our environment? Who knows? 600 wells were set ablaze. Black rain fell. Lakes of oil were created. The sand and gravel on the land's surface combined with oil and soot formed a layer of hardened tarcrete over almost 5% of the country's area. Scores of livestock and other animals died from the oily mist. That's beautiful. Please, Time magazine, please have your thing work. You're really not helping us out. So the Chrome page just freaked out. Love Canal, that was a beautiful one. We're not even going to talk about that. What I'm trying to get to is this one. Here we go. Sorry it took so long to get here. I should have just had it loaded on this one, but I wanted to show you some of the other beautiful environmental disasters we've had. The Exxon Valdez was basically, if I'm pretty sure this was the super tanker where the dude was drunk. Basically, we had a drunk captain, and the Exxon Valdez oil tanker ran aground on Bligh Reef in the pristine waters of Alaska's Prince William Sound. Now, it wasn't the largest oil spill, folks. What it was one that did more environmental damage than you could ever possibly imagine. This is what hundreds of okay, here's what. The first of what would turn out to be 10.8 million gallons of oil began to spew forth into the cold waters. It would eventually spread almost 500 miles from the original crash site and stain thousands of miles of coastline. Hundreds of thousands of birds, fish, seals, otters, and other animals would perish as a result. despite the mobilization of more than 11,000 people and 1,000 boats as part of the cleanup. While the Exxon Valdez oil leak is considered to be the largest man-made environmental disaster in history, the Gulf of Mexico oil spill that we just had with BP may actually surpass it in terms of damage. The amount of life destroyed, coastline destroyed because of oil, because of fossil fuels. And Exxon doesn't pay any taxes, folks. Exxon doesn't pay any taxes, folks. Now, Chrome crashed on me, so all of the pages I was going to show you guys have to reload, which isn't cool. So I apologize. Doesn't really make for a nice, a clean show. What we're going to talk about next, there was a story about the top 10 corporate tax dodgers, right? Well, here's a beautiful thing. Exxon is among those. Right? Of course they are, right? And all of those tax dodgers, here we go. We're gonna move. So we've talked about Exxon. You've watched a video. You've seen a little bit about the horror they've caused. You understand that 40 years ago, they knew these things. 40 years ago, they could have made change. They did. They made change to secure profits. They made change to make sure that we did not invest in renewable energy back in the early 80s. Imagine what a different place this would be. What a different world this would be had we actually invested in renewables instead of going to war for oil, for Exxon. Okay, let's talk about what Exxon does with the taxes. GE, Exxon, and 10 other major corporations paid a negative tax rate. Okay. Between 2008 and 2010, a dozen major U.S. corporations, including General Electric, ExxonMobil, and Verizon, paid a negative tax rate, despite collectively recording $171 billion in pre-tax U.S. profits. According to an analysis by Citizens for Tax Justice, taken together, these companies' tax burden was minus $2.5 billion, and 10 of the companies recorded at least one no-tax year between 2008 and 2010. This is the same company that charges you at the pump. This is the same company that's been destroying your environment and knew about it for 40 years. They are paying shit in taxes. Now, Exxon's effective rate is 0.4%. So they can't say they're not paying anything. Here's my favorite one, though. Here's my favorite one. From Uncut. All of the top 10 corporate tax dodgers have donated to Hillary Clinton. So all you Hillary supporters that don't watch this show, tell me again why you think Hillary is for you. I think she's for these guys. Who are they? General Electric. GE posted $33.9 billion in profits, but somehow got $2.9 billion in refunds. I think it's because they build war things. They build things for the military-industrial complex. According to the book Clinton Cash, then Secretary of State Clinton lobbied the Algerian government for a GE power plant contract. After Algeria awarded the contract to GE, Jeffrey Immelt, CEO of GE, gave a donation to the Clinton Foundation. She also pointed out that while Immelt sat on the board of New York Federal Reserve, the Fed gave GE $16 billion in financial assistance. Why did the Fed give GE $16 billion in financial assistance? Why? Boeing makes us a lot of warplanes. $20 billion in profits between those 4 years. Their income tax rate of negative 1% during those years. Clinton Cash says she successfully lobbied the Russian government to enter a $3.7 billion contract to buy Boeing's aircraft. The company gave the Clinton Foundation a hefty donation of $900,000. Do you see how this works? Verizon, we just keep going. Bank of America, Citigroup, Pfizer, FedEx, Honeywell, Merck, Corning. Ah, shit, they don't have Exxon on this list. I thought Exxon was on this list. Exxon is part of this. I've got that in another thing. But just who cares? Bank of America. got a $1.9 billion refund from the IRS despite making $4.4 billion in profit. Bank of America, fuck you. Oh, next article. Meet the fossil fuel lobbyists raising money for Hillary Clinton. This one's a fun one, folks. A list of 40 registered lobbyists that Clinton camp disclosed to the Federal Election Committee on Wednesday revealed a number of Democratic Party lobbyists who have worked against regulations to curb climate change, advocated for offshore drilling, or sought government approval for natural gas exports. Clinton, the former Secretary of State, has called climate change the most consequential, urgent, sweeping collection of challenges we face as a nation and world, and says it would be a major focus of her administration if she wins the White House. However, I'm having a hard time believing that. Here, let's look at some of these donations. I know you really can't see. I'll try to zoom in. The list here, folks, is ridiculous of how much money and where these people come from. Southern California-based oil giant Chevron since 2006 with contracts totaling more than $3 million. Two dudes, Scott Parvin and Brian Pomper, lobbyists. They donated $24,000 and $29,000. They have helped Chevron over the years resist efforts to eliminate oil and tax gas breaks and to impose regulations to reduce climate emissions. I don't know how many more connections we need to show. How many more connections do we need to show? The oil and gas industry, knowingly, willingly, for the last 40 years, has fucked our planet, fucked it hard, screwed us. We have a very limited amount of time right now, folks, to fix this planet. We have one candidate, an establishment candidate, who is backed by the very industry she says she's going to fight, backed by the very business of Wall Street she says she's going to fight. I find it hard to believe, based on the facts, that she has negotiated deals in the past as the Secretary of State. And you see the transaction happening. Algeria gets a plant. GE gives Clinton money. Come on. How they don't do it for fun, folks. They don't do it for fun. How many fucks is that worth? Seriously. Seriously. I got some other things to talk about here. That goes into Monsanto. We were going to go into Monsanto. But first, calm down. I went on a rant there for a while because it's just ridiculous, these ties. It's just ridiculous. You don't see any of this with Bernie Sanders. You don't see any of this with Bernie Sanders. You know what you see? A history of actually doing shit. Yeah, a history of getting things done. If I can find the video, if I can get it to load, I had a nice clip from Tim Black talking about Hillary and getting it done and what she got done in the 90s. And I'd like to play that. But check it out, John. What are we looking at? What are we talking about here? Why didn't Obama question this? Great question. You have solar panels there, Robert? Good. I'm trying to get them here, but I think I have too many trees. When I walk to work, I'm scrolling back up. What do you want me to look at? Please show Bernie policies on what he will do. I do. I have that page close up. His policies are good. Joanne, here's my thing. Nobody has policies that are good enough. Bernie's policies are not good enough. We need sweeping, massive, insane change. We have an asteroid hurtling at our planet. This is no different than the Armageddon movie, right? We need to think that way. We need to act that way. All of these efforts are nothing because they still pander, they still cater to the fossil fuel industry. They really do. It's so powerful and it's so embedded as a part of the military industrial complex. And maybe what Bernie's doing is presenting this because he knows it'll at least appear rational to some. And that if he really applied what we think we need to do, what scientists say we need to do, which was turn off automobiles 20 years ago, how do you do that? How do you turn off automobiles? We have to liquidate Exxon. We have to use those funds as reparations to the world and build a renewable energy grid with Exxon's reparation money. We need to wipe them all out. We need to create a government-owned oil company to facilitate the transition between fossil fuels and grid. Because I know we can't just stop using oil. But we need to liquidate all of the fossil fuel industry because they owe reparations to mankind. That's where I want to go there. But what else did you guys want to show me? Or what were you trying to show me? Yes. Yeah, Bernie's policies aren't good enough. I'm sorry, they're not. They need to be harsher. Yeah, that's the who is this person? John, you're right. And the person that you don't know about as of right is Naomi Klein. Okay. I'd like to talk to her. So, on that note of science, folks, Tesla, car company, good things. Elon Musk, right? Good guy, things he's got going on. And I know that everybody's talking. So if you didn't hear, we just had a major breakthrough in physics where we have seen gravity. We've seen the gravity wave. We've seen a ripple in gravity. Once we can see it, we can study it. This is like one of the hidden pieces of physics. Okay. And I know that right now we're looking at it in terms of cosmology and astronomy, but it actually has implications in science, big, huge fucking implications in science down the road. And those will include, well, when you can see gravity, when you can see the wave, when you can start to look at it and analyze it, you can start to manipulate it. And that's where we're heading here, right? So I think we have a future. I think we have a future of renewables. We have a future of new sciences. Material science has just exploded. There's a whole new era of brilliance coming from the people. But we have to get rid of the dino thinking establishment. We have to get rid of the fossils in our government, the fossils that run in corporations, and the fossil corporations that don't need to exist. Really, truly, right now, fossil fuel industry is like a horse and carriage industry. It is no longer necessary. And they're just pissed off about that. And all of the other relying industries on that, like the buggy whip industry, you don't need buggy whips anymore when you don't have horse and carriage buggies. Okay. That's what's going on here. And all the people making money off that industry are pissed off because it's a dying industry. But here's the thing, Exxon. I want to bring it home to this. Had the Exxon folks really been progressive, forward-thinking businessmen, had they been smarter than the dollar figures back in the day, they would have converted to renewables then and there and owned the damn industry. And then they would have been ahead of everybody. But instead, they went the easy, knuckle dragger, dino thinking, old, white man, elitist route. The easy way. Old, greedy white men, the true welfare fuckers of our government. That's what it comes down to. This is just to bring it back home because I want people to remember something. HSBC Bank takes money from drug lords, criminals, people that skate on their taxes. They've created a tax haven in a Swiss bank account in Geneva. It just got busted big time. They're identifying all these people within it. The Clinton Foundation received up to $81 million from clients of this controversial HSBC bank. And a lot of those fucking clients are lobbyists for the fossil fuel industry. This is where they hide their money, folks. I don't know how many ties we need to put together here on the lovely Clinton family. Oh, that's Monsanto. We weren't going to move into Monsanto yet. They're other friends. I just wanted to pull this one up real quick. Chevron's lobby campaign backfires. Okay. Now, somewhere I lost my article on Hillary Clinton and the fact that she negotiated for Chevron. And maybe, I don't know, we've talked, it's been a long time. Hillary Clinton was basically the queen of the fracking industry, and I've dropped the article in the thing there. In the early 2000s, mid 2000s, she helped Chevron and Exxon, but mostly Chevron, get a contract in Bulgaria for fracking. The Bulgarian people didn't want it; they were pissed, but they pushed that through. Okay? And then a large sum of money got donated to her by Chevron. It's amazing how that works. The Clinton Foundation receives money. The Clinton Foundation, folks, is a funnel to get work done in the political world of establishment. It's the Clintons' funnel. You want something done through the Clinton oligarchy? You send money to the Clinton Foundation. The nation of Morocco has done it. Monsanto has done it. Exxon has done it. Pfizer has done it. GE has done it. The list goes on and on and on. The Clinton Foundation is the fencing operation the laundering operation for Hillary's cash, and we have over and over and over again evidence of that. I realized that we took a turn here from talking about Exxon. Exxon is the king of the criminals. They alone have done more damage than any other fossil fuel corporation. They need to be charged first. The Clinton campaign and the Clinton family and the Clinton Foundation do whatever they're paid to do. And there is a long history of that. And they're taking money from people that should be in jail for crimes against humanity. Anybody voting for Hillary Clinton is voting for somebody who, in my opinion, should be tried for treason. She is a traitor to this nation. Her and Bill. They have abused the political system so much. I'd say George W. Bush is the same way, but he was just too damn fucking stupid. But Hillary, she's wicked smart, according to Obama. She knows damn well what the fuck's going on. For some reason, our government is not prosecuting them. Go figure. At the end of the day, folks, you're either voting for these criminals or you're voting for Bernie Sanders. There's really no other choice. And I have zero respect for anybody at this point who even stands near Hillary Clinton. You look at this evidence and these facts and you have no problem backing this person? That's disgusting. It's like saying, I'd vote for Jeffrey Dahmer. I don't know why you think he's such a bad guy. Manson, why not? He's not such a bad guy. I equate Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation and establishment with those kinds of people, folks. Except they're out running free, doing what they please, giving tax breaks to Exxon, while Exxon lies to us and destroys our planet knowingly, willingly. How much money has the Clinton family taken in over the last decades in the name of Clinton Foundation that was really just for whatever the purpose was in government? It's horrendous. It's disgusting. We need to replace our government officials so that we can line them up and try them for crimes against humanity, for treason against us. Us! You want to know why I say fuck all the time? It's because we actually need to take over our government. We're trying to do it peacefully, but I don't know how the hell that's going to happen because so many of them need to be arrested now with Exxon. Why have we not marched our military? If Exxon were ISIS, we would have bombed the shit out of them by now. I don't understand why we have not marched into Exxon's offices with our military and hauled those people out. I don't know. Except for the fact that people like Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, folks, have made a lot of fucking money with Exxon. They've done a lot of deals. They've worked together for the sake of profit against the people. It's wrong. It's why I cuss. It's outrageous. Our entire government works together to doom us all. And so when I use the word retarded, I don't use it lightly. I think every politician who's functioning in this way, suppressing the need to do climate change, suppressing the need for urgency in shifting to a renewable energy grid now, I think every politician suppressing that vote is retarded and should be marked as such and removed from government because obviously their mental faculties are not working okay. So I do not use that word lightly. I want a planet worth living on. That's going to take serious change now. That's why I'm fucking mad. That's why I'm so enraged. They lied. What's going on about it? What's happening? Not much. Is the media even covering it anymore? No. We've moved on to Trump's hair. We're all going to die, folks. We're all going to die on this planet a lot sooner than we thought we were. I'm not sure why anybody else isn't freaking out about that. There should be air raid sirens going off. We should be preparing for that right now. It's an asteroid coming at our planet. We are doing nothing. We're getting in our car, driving down the road. We could fix this problem really quick. Cut that military budget in half, take that money and actually spend it on us, spend it on the planet. Liquidate Exxon? The answer is right there, folks. But first, we have to kick out politicians that are suppressing reality. We have to close down media networks that are suppressing reality. We're doomed if we don't act. And we need to act with force. And that's my personal view. And that's why this show is on this channel and my personal show. It's not, it's, you know, everybody here at Bernie TV has their own views, their own opinions. We are in no way connected to the official campaign whatsoever. I don't know why we don't do anything. I don't know why we don't do anything. I'm missing the point. Please stop using that word. It's incredibly painful and triggering to a large number of people. Okay.